Hello and welcome to another Industry Live Sensitive series with I'm that Kimberly.
And I'm Diana Benitez.
And I'm Alfonso Espinosa.
And I misspelled his name, so please forgive me. And we're going to talk about piercings and tattoos. Yay or nay? Poncho's going to give us the insight from the perspective on this sensitive topic. So thank you for joining. Wherever you're watching from today, please, let us know the comments if you have a question on any of this, as well as if you watch us on the replay, put hashtag and spell out the word replay and put the city that you watched from. So wherever you're watching from. And without further ado, jump into this conversation. So, Poncho, piercings, are they a protected class?
They are not a protected class. It doesn't fall under your nationality. It doesn't fall under your race. It doesn't fall under your religion. It doesn't fall under those protected classes. So an employer can have policies that prohibit you from having tattoos. Now, my experience has been in the last 10 years, I've worked for a very conservative company and now work for a less conservative company.
Okay.
Right. And with a conservative company, tattoos exposed were frowned upon. It was not something that people could be wearing them exposed.
But that would people ask in the interview, like do they list that somewhere saying allowed to have X, Y, and Z? How does that?
No, because
not in the interview, in the like right where the job posting is. Like,
yeah,
why make people waste time?
That's not seen as something that people would typically ask. Hey, is it okay to come work there with tattoos? Right. Mm-hmm. So no one's going to put that into an application or into a job posting, because that in itself could knock out some potentially very good candidates. Because what if your tattoo is on your back shoulder, or what if it's on your chest or somewhere that isn't in plain sight? You don't want to discount people that could be really good candidates for that. Because of that, now a lot more companies are very, very much more accepting of tattoos now. I mean, it's commonplace.
Yeah, 30 a little percent of in 2023, I Googled it, and it said at least 30% of the population has one tattoo.
At least one tattoo.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the statistic is for what that was 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, they said growing popularity
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, even socially, you've seen, and I think professional athletes have had a lot of impact on that, because you've seen a big swing in that, where over the course of time, tattoos were frowned upon, right? So I was telling Kimberly before the show, I said, when I got my first tattoo after my first daughter was born, I got a little tattoo of her initial in Chinese, of all weird things. Because I'm sure Chinese people are not getting, water tattooed on their arm. And I took a nap at my mom's house one Sunday. It was really hot, so I was sleeping on the couch with my shirt off, and I woke up to my mom's wet finger. She wet her finger and rubbed my arm where the tattoo spot was, hoping it wasn't permanent. And she started crying. It was a little tattoo. It was like maybe an inch and a half. It was tiny.
Yeah.
And she was outside crying. I said, "Mom, why are you crying?" She said, "Well, because, now people are going to think you're in a gang or that you've been in jail." And I said, "Mom,
Ya no vas a entrar al reino de Dios."
Right. I'm not in a gang. I've never been in jail, knock on wood, right?
Yeah.
I've never done that. And so, that kind of started a love affair for me with tats. I have 8 tats now.
Yeah.
I'm not a pick it and stick it kind of guy. That means I didn't walk into a tattoo and say, I picked that one, so stick it on me. All of them have some meaning, right?
Yeah.
But that was 20, almost 30 years ago. But even still, around 10, a little longer than 10 years ago, when I met my wife, she told me that one of the things she said she wouldn't marry was a guy with tattoos. Yeah. And when I met my mother-in-law, I was telling Kim that she called me a chalkboard in Spanish. She said, parece pizarrón, you know. But again, I'm a professional. I'm a professional. I'm an HR director. You know what I mean? And
that doesn't fit the stereotypical of an HR director.
It doesn't. You know, and I think it gives me a bit of an advantage, because when people think of an HR director, to think of someone stodgy, very by the book person. Now I tell people, you don't have to be that. I mean, you know, I've never liked being put in a box of a category. You know, I'm a dichotomy of a dude. I'm all kinds of different things. I don't like being labeled, and I like my tats, you know?
Well, I mean, you brought up something too, when just talking about your mom being sad. The generational thought of tattoos has shifted. I remember my first tattoo when I was 18, when I was in college. I had 3 older brothers, and when my dad found that I had a tattoo and I hid it from my mother, she never saw it, but my dad, I actually told, was devastated. He's like, I never thought my only daughter wanted to get a tattoo before all the boys. And I did. You know, it was something, it was a college thing to do. It was kind of it's a Black Panther, and you can see it when I wear a bathing suit, but I wanted a unicorn. I just didn't think a unicorn was, like, you know, tattoo worthy. So I got a Black Panther. No me behind it. That was just the story.
Does it look like a sad cat now, or does it still look like a Black Panther?
It looks like an angry panther now.
It does. It looks like a wrinkle.
Real finessing, and now it's like.
but you know, but you make a good point. It's a good question about that.
Yeah.
That there are still places that frown upon it. Now, that doesn't mean that tattoos are bad or anything like that. But even in places where tattoos are allowed, you know, you can't have a tattoo with nudity on it, or with foul language. You know, you can't have a tattoo of a swastika that's exposed. I mean, anything, again, going back to what we talked about, you know, dress codes and stuff, anything that's distracting, you don't want that. You know, if a lady or a man has a tattoo on their, you know, lower chest, you probably don't want to see that, because then you're probably showing too much of something you don't want to see.
You're already showing too much skin.
Yeah. But so you're saying, so I can go through an interview with someone and not even bring up tattoos because it's seeable, and show up to work and then say it's on my ankle. Is it an employer can either fire me or they can tell me to cover it?
Yeah, they can. It's a lot like a dress code. If someone wears a shirt that's too revealing, well, what we usually tell them is, hey, do you have a sweater or a hoodie that you can put on? If not, you're gonna have to go home and change.
Yeah.
And you know, again, if it's a tattoo that isn't offensive, right? And you know, you get into your what's offensive. You know, to some people, a cross might be offensive, but it typically is an accepted thing. But again, if you have something like a swastika or a Confederate flag or something like that, then maybe it's not a smart thing, that because then that could generate some hostility or conversations that people shouldn't be having at work. But it's a lot more accepted now. Also, you stop to think, what about folks that are tattooed up here?
Oh yeah,
right.
How do you cover that? Well, I know it's makeup, but
well, you know, and unless you're a person who's in the public eye, right? Unless you're on TV or you know, you're a sportscaster, newscaster, a weather person, something like that, or if maybe it's in a field that's a very conservative field in sales, the employer might say, I'm sorry, but you'll either have to wear makeup to conceal your tattoo. I don't know if you've ever been to any restaurants, but there are some restaurants that insist on people wearing either sleeves or makeup on their tats.
Oh wow! Still,
yep,
that's shocking.
And then also, like, on the assumption side, like back in the day, it was already bad to get a tattoo, but if you were female, forget it. It was even worse.
Oh yeah.
They just assumed
the placement, even the placement of a tattoo.
Yeah.
Right. There are certain parts where we're like, hey, you know, the guy with a tattoo on his lower back, you know, that's going to elicit some comments from his buddies more than likely.
Well, where's the most? Here's a question for you. The most commonplace for a tattoo when it comes to women, and what's the most commonplace for man? Take a guess.
For men, I'd say their upper arm, and for women, I'd say maybe they're like a shoulder blade.
Okay, Diana, what do you guess?
Well, if I were to get a tattoo, I would get it back here on my neck.
Okay.
The worst
Right
place.
here.
Okay.
I get a teardrop right here.
No, don't do that. That's bad, kids. So according to this website that it was Tattoo Facts and Stats, it said the most commonplace was women, their ankle, women's ankle is 27%. And then men's back shoulder, 34%.
Wow.
Had a upper tattoo. So, I don't know.
And tattoos have been around for a long time. I mean, I did a quick search and I saw that the oldest known tattoo was 5,000 years old, discovered in some tombs in Japan.
Wow.
Right. And for some cultures, the tattoo is a rank. It's a mark. It's a mark. It's your rank. It's your status in the tribe. For example, in the Samoan or Pacific Islander community, tattoos are a very common thing. In fact, tattoos aren't done with tattoo guns. They're done with bristles and hammers.
Wow.
Right.
That's like that's what we're doing now, microblading for the eyebrows. It's like
exactly what
scratch it in. So let me tell you guys a little story. So for me, my whole family is like super Christian, very old. They were like, no tattoos, no this. But I really have always been an artist, right? So I'm like, man, I can't get a tattoo. So I'm going to start giving tattoos. So I started giving all my friends tattoos. And I was really committed to what I was doing. And I wasn't giving them little tattoos. I was giving them really big tattoos. So after like 10, 15 years, when I ran into them again and I saw their tattoos, I was like, I'm so
what they look like.
Well, this is the funny story. So I was practicing my script, right? So about 20 girls got the same name of Lily because that was my best friend and I could do her name really good. And everybody, and I've talked to several, I'm like, you guys still have that tattoo? I'm so sorry. But I mean, I perfected that. It was so nice.
And did you do it with a tattoo gun, or what did you do it with?
I've always been creative and a creator, so I made my own gun. I started with the little pin, with the little needle, and then upgraded to a gun. So it was very interesting. I really liked the way the skin popped. I know that sounds psycho. It was very satisfying. But I did get one tattoo and I got it right here. It's like a little dot. And everybody asked me, you have something green right there, because now it's green. I thought it was a beauty mark, right? So I got one there and one here. This one looks like a blackhead. And this one looks like they stabbed me with a pencil or something and it turned green. So at the end,
it's no worse than a black pen.
Sure. I do permanent makeup now, right? I'm certified in doing the microblading and all that, but I don't do it. But it's just like, okay, after all that experience, I do know how to do permanent makeup if anybody wants.
That's just cool. That's
just in case.
Cool.
Yeah,
you're definitely a creator.
Yeah, for sure. I go all in. So
it's a funny story. I worked for AT&T, and it was a big call center. And there was a guy who now owns a couple of the biggest tattoo parlors here in El Paso. And he's a guy that actually brings a really big tattoo show to El Paso. But when he was learning to tattoo, he would tell folks at work, hey, let me tattoo you and I'll do it for free. Right. So I remember my buddy, his name is Sal. He shows up one day real proud. No, he showed up with a Virgin Mary tattoo on his arm. And we're looking at it. And I said, hey, dude, who beat the crap out of the Virgin Mary, man? And one of her eyes was shut and the other one was black. And I mean, it was a clown show of tattoos. One guy got a bulldog that looked like a beagle. Another guy, what did he get? He got a Mickey Mouse.
They're tattoo artists?
Yes, they were all hybrid tattoos, okay?
most of them had them covered or touched up years later. And now this guy's like a world-renowned tattoo artist. And now tattoo artists actually practice on fake skin and on oranges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one of my tattoos on this side, I had it done by a scratcher. He's a good friend of mine, but he works out of his house. In fact, I just thought about him because he's the CEO of a family counseling services company now.
Wow.
So he may be a good guest for our show.
Come and talk about.
He's the one doing the tattoo on me one night, and my daughters were with me, and he said, "Hey, you want your daughters to tattoo you a little bit?" And I said to him, like, well, if they're coloring in, I don't want them drawing on me. But one of my daughter's favorite colors is blue, and the other one is purple. So I have an Aztec warrior tattoo with 2 feathers, and the tips of each feather, one is in blue and one is purple, and each one of them did that. And also that same tattoo, I had him dip his ink in my dad's ashes. So I've got my dad with me all the time. See, so
that's a great idea.
To me, tattoos aren't just a matter of, none of them are like, hey, look at my cool tattoo, right?
Yeah.
They all of them have a story, and they all have a meaning for me. And that's why being in a position in talent acquisition, recruitment, I always talk to folks about that and say, hey, you might want to wear a long sleeve shirt in this particular job because you're working with somebody that's pretty conservative, and they may frown on your tattoos.
Well, you would recommend to anybody that if they have a lot of tattoos, that they should dress for a professional interview first, and then it brings in the conversation in their interview. Would you say?
I wouldn't touch on it. If I were going to a job interview now, I would go with a long sleeve shirt and a jacket, and I wouldn't even bring my tattoos up. Okay. Once I got to work there, I'd see what the environment was like, right? And if I see the tattoos are openly visible, mm-hmm. I would ask, hey, is it okay? And I would do that. And if they tell me no, it isn't, I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't make an issue of it. But, you know what I mean? Okay. Because my employment is a lot more important than my desire to express myself outwardly towards others with my tats. I mean, they're for me.
Yeah.
But I know other people are different. Some people get tattoos because it's that expression is super important to them. And my daughters, each of them has at least 2 tattoos.
And how old are they?
And they're in their mid and late 20s. But I told them, both of them, I said, look, you can get your tats. I said, but until you're a well-established professional, until you've got skin on the wall, until you've got a track record of success as a professional, do not get a tattoo where it's visible.
Okay.
Unless you're going to be a hairdresser, which is, a lot of hairdressers have tattoos that are, they have scissors and clippers and all that stuff. I tell them, don't have them visible. Don't get anything on your face. Don't get anything on your neck. Right? You don't want to be told, you don't want to be told no on a job that you really want because of your desire to express yourself.
And I've known some artists that they go all out. They tattoo themselves because they're like, I have no other choice but to succeed because nobody else is going to hire me. I think that's super bold. Like that is a very bold move. Like they're like, no one else is going to hire me. So I'm going to force myself to success.
Right.
Yeah. But still, like that is something that is all left up. I mean, I know that it falls under the dress code, right? Like that tattoos and piercings, like piercings, even waiting tables, you had to, sometimes depending on how big the piercings were, the round, like people would say cover them up or take the hoops out, things of that sort. What does it usually look like outside of the restaurant world?
I mean, first you take safety into account. If you're working in anywhere that there is machinery, anything that your piercing could get caught in, or anything that has magnets, there are magnets that are strong enough that can rip a piercing out.
Yeah.
Right. So we would always say that. But other than that, I mean, nose piercings are very common. I've seen eyebrow piercings, and in my place of work, I mean, they're sitting at a desk talking to customers. So, and they're not on a video, so they don't have to worry about somebody seeing them and, complaining about that. But there are places that will tell you, hey, you're going to need to take that lip ring out. You're going to need to take that ring out.
Or cover it with a Band-Aid.
Stuff, I mean,
a lot of Band-Aids on the faces.
Yeah. or you know, like for earrings, I have, you know, the marks from where I had earrings in both of my ears. They're all closed up now because I'm, you know, not in that space anymore. But they sell these little plugs that you can just pop in, and you know, it replaces your earring in case you don't want your piercing to close, right?
Oh, got it.
But you know, you'll see people with piercings in their noses and other parts. And again, it's a matter of, you know, it shouldn't be anything that's distracting or that could you could get hurt. But you know, it's jewelry. Yeah. If you boil it down, I mean, it's jewelry.
We used to at CTM, we used to depending on whether it was a shoot, an out, you know, the producers, some of the video guys, we used to have some video guys that were super creative, super huge gauges. We just had to, you know, like
know your audience, basically.
Yeah, who's your audience?
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable.
That's a perfect way to say it, Dana.
Yeah.
Know your audience.
Because sometimes it's obviously like it's a video production, you know, creativity is key and number one, but still, if it was a producer to clients, we ask them to understand that, you know, that might be distracting, might not find you, and it's dumb. People, it should not judge anyone by the color of hair, the color of their skin, the tattoos, the piercings, you name it. It's absolutely ludicrous, but it happens. People still have this assumption, and they shouldn't. It's dumb.
They do. Right? They have assumptions about everything.
Yeah.
About, you know, I could go into so many, and it actually makes me laugh. Like I said before, it was like interesting. So if that's what you think, let's roll with it. Like, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
You think I don't have a degree? Oh, that's fine. Like,
yeah, we'll jump into that later. But it is.
It was funny. They were trying to invite me to a self-made talk about, you know, to kids younger, you know, in high school and stuff like that. And they're like, we think you would be perfect because, you know, you've made it. You don't even have, you know, you didn't go to school and this and that. And I'm like, you know, I was on the dean's list.
Yeah, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah,
I had a full scholarship, but okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting, and before it would offend me and hurt my feelings, and now is like, oh, I enjoy it. Like, it's just it's very interesting, people's perception of how they see others because you're happy, because this, or because, you know, for me, it's always because I'm happy. They're like, oh, she just wants to have fun. She's not taking anything serious, and then when they see my end result, they're like, "Oh shit, she does know something."
Oh shoot!
Oh shit! Hey,
you know, I like being underestimated.
It's the best feeling. It is. It actually is very rewarding because the expectation is not even there.
Yeah. So, well, as our study, we should definitely. I love to ask people, you know, what sparked the idea, the tattoo or the piercing, or if it hurt. You know, depending on where it is on the body, because I'm always super interested instead of just assuming anything, you know. I try to ask more questions.
Yeah, people's pain tolerance is different. And say my tattoo guy tells me, dude, I could be sawing off your arm and nothing happens. I've even fallen asleep.
Wow. That's what I wanted to say. Like, some people are addicted to it. I was addicted to doing them, but I know that, you know, people are like, I have one best friend and she's like, hey, tell me what you want me to get. You know, she got a little a light bulb, because I always have ideas, and when I would say, hey, I have an idea, she gets so scared. She would tell me. I would always be like, oh God, what does she want to do now?
So you were the light bulb tattoo.
So she got a light bulb tattoo with a little question mark in there.
Well, I think,
and she enjoys the tattoo, so she's allowed me to give her tattoos as well. You know, awesome. To get my little fix out, and the permanent makeup stuff too. So
yeah, it is interesting if we would just as a society just move to asking more questions, seeking to understand. I met a young lady who was Indian, and she was Pakistani, but also believed in. She also her Hindu. So I don't know enough about the. Anyways, long story short, I asked all kinds of questions about her henna tats, and to find out that it is, you know, it's a religious and cultural thing, be permanent. That is something that just not anybody gets those hennas permanent,
And back to like cultural, like you start, the more you travel, the more you talk to people, the more races you interact with, like the better person you become, because you learn that your little world, there's way more out there, right?
Yeah,
what I was taught is not necessarily correct.
Sometimes it makes our ideas seem little.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Well, I appreciate you so much for having this controversial, a sensitive assumption. Is there anything, wrapping up that you want to share before we jump off? I want to be mindful of everyone's time, so
I do want to say that it's really cool being back on here again, and we have some really cool guests coming up. And I want to tell you guys a little preview. We have
please.
Probably Stephanie Graves, and the Immersion Summit is coming soon. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, make sure you get that. Make sure you get on board on the boat, on the the ship. Okay. Yeah. Before anyone tries to correct me. And then we also have, I'm gonna give you a little preview. So this gentleman, and I'm gonna leave it there, was being poisoned by his wife in the protein. She was putting arsenic in his protein.
Wow.
And that's just a little preview, but
that's the healthy death.
Wow.
And, man, it's so interesting. Like, you just never know who you're dealing with. I mean, this is his life, right? But he has an amazing story. He's, overcome this and is sharing his message. So I'm excited of the two that are coming.
Yes.
We'll post some dates up pretty soon, but we also have a couple more, but those two I'm gonna preview for now.
I'll say that next week is Trisha. We're talking about, I'm gonna leave that. Trisha, like Haagen-Dazs, Indaz. Trisha Indaz. I'm gonna get it better. I'm gonna prep it, but everybody who knows me knows that I mess up words. Obviously, I couldn't even spell Poncho's last name. It's with a Z, so forgive me. But
and we can go into that story about the whole Z and S is from Spain.
Two totally different countries. And we're looking at and speaking to one of Poncho. Do you want to tell a little bit about your guest?
Yeah, my good friend Yoli is a recruiter for the Texas Tech School of Medicine here in El Paso, and she has at least one doctor who is happy to join us and talk about the mental health element of our generations and how it's being tackled at the education level.
Awesome.
And also, I'd like to invite a writer on. His name is CF Espinosa. He's my nephew, and he's got a second upcoming book.
Yay!
He also produces an annual literary magazine book, which yours truly is published. I have a story in one of those.
That's awesome. Congrats.
He works for the state of El Paso. He is the storyteller for the state of El Paso.
Cool.
I think he'd make a really good guest.
Yes, and we would have him on and honored for him to spend some time with us. So I appreciate you guys. If you want to connect with Poncho, here is how to connect with him. I'm putting up all his handles, from thoughts from the life at Gmail. You can also connect with him on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and the Insta. And let's see if I got Diana's correct. I might have messed them up. I hope not.
You can follow me at I'm a Soap Addict.
Hey, there we go. I'm a Soap Addict.
Coming out with an aloe banana shampoo that is like amazing for your hair, for hair growth, for aging hair. Like, that's a thing. I did not know that. Okay.
Ages, yes. We'll have to talk about hair aging and not be discriminated towards aging of the hair.
But let's protect it, okay?
Yes, let's protect it. Let's protect it.
Oh, but hey, by the way, if anyone's watching and you guys have a great story to tell or want to connect with us, let us know so we can schedule you on. We love everybody. We want to hear different stories and different experiences from your life.
Yeah. Sensitive
Absolutely.
assumptions is something that we're diving into. If it's a topic that it's your story, I mean, you can tell it, so that, and we want to ask questions about it and how it became a sensitive assumptions. Yes, we appreciate you joining us today, and until next Wednesday, have a great rest of your week, and remember, sharing is caring. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.